Swedenborg describes an spiritual ecosystem in which the people living here in the physical world and those living in the spiritual world up through all the levels of heaven are dependent on each other for life. That just like we need heaven to exist, heaven needs us, right? So there is a service you're providing you didn't even realize. Now, some people find meaning in feeding birds, like feeding the pigeons. So people will go to a park, you see it in movies, feeding the pigeons feels like something to me. So that would be, even that alone can satisfy a human being. But how would you feel if you knew that every day you are also feeding the angels? That you are actually contributing to the sustenance of heaven. How is that possible? I'll tell you, and I'll tell you in 3 quotes. The first one is Last Judgment 9. And they'll build one on the other. People who do not know the mysteries of heaven may believe that angels exist apart from us, and that we exist apart from angels, but I can solemnly testify, on the basis of all my experience of heaven and my conversations with angels, that no angel or spirit exists apart from humankind, and that no human being exists apart from angels and spirits. I can testify also that the way we are joined together is mutual and reciprocal. This leads to the prime conclusion that humankind and the heaven of angels make up a single whole, and depend on each other mutually and reciprocally for their existence, which means that neither can be parted from the other. We form a foundation for heaven. That we are essential to this whole thing. Swedenborg even talks about us like the foundation in a house. But how? So if we're looking at is our life important, not only are we affecting people in the world and ourselves, we're helping the spiritual world exist. But how are we doing that? A clue in Secrets of Heaven 2953. For it is the ideas comprising our thoughts that serve as the objects which angels need for spiritual thoughts. So we are in some way providing raw spiritual material for angels. And Swedenborg gets even more explicit about it here, and the feeding that goes on in Divine Love and Wisdom 279. Angels say that they perceive what someone is like from a single deed through the image of someone's love, though the image of someone's love will vary depending on the way it finds definition in desires and therefore in thoughts. In brief, every one of the acts or deeds of a spiritual person is like a delicious, nourishing, and beautiful fruit to angels, a fruit that yields flavor, nourishment, and pleasure when it is sliced and eaten. So you are right now feeding the angels. Right? You are literally, we don't know exactly how literally, but you are providing them sustenance. So let's say I'm right here, right now, giving this show, right? So here I am, I'm talking, I'm thinking, I'm feeling, but I am also potentially, if I'm doing what I'm doing right now from a good origin, like I'm trying to actually help people with this, the things that I'm giving out or that are flowing through me or whatever are traveling their way into the spiritual world and being absorbed by heaven. And not only that, but angels can really dig it. You saw in that quote that they feel like this is not just I'm eating, dry oatmeal. This is really good stuff, and that we can be giving that off to them right now. So there we go. Does my life matter? Another way it matters is that you are providing the heaven that we all need to exist with what it needs to exist. So you're part of this larger family than you could ever believe. And not only that, you may be just as valuable as a frog tank is. So, here we go. That's nice. Surrounded by frogs. At the Detroit Zoo, there is a tank, an aquarium, a terrarium full of these guys. These are Panamanian golden frogs. And it's part of a species survival plan. It's not just so people can come and look at the frogs. It is because there's so little habitat for these guys in Panama, and so little... such a small population of them left that the terrarium there is insurance, because if all the frogs get wiped out in the wild, this collection and that and other zoos can bring the population back. So there's a specific kind of unique thought and feeling that can, or organism that can only live there. But with us, our thoughts and feelings are like these spiritual animals. They are unique and they are living, and there are times when we're the only ones holding out. So it could be that not only are you providing things to heaven, but those things are things that only exist with you, and that perhaps feed a part of heaven that only you can feed. And if you weren't around, that part of heaven would go dark, and then we would lose our connection. I mean, we would lose part of the whole would be less because of it. So you matter, because not only are you cool, but you are keeping a special part of the greater whole alive.